Alrighty. And we're live. Hey mages, how's it going? And tonight I will be going back into Fallout Equestria, the Equestrian Wasteland, if you will. So it has been a long time. I have put this off for longer than I have usually put off Xenoblade. And a part of me is thinking, okay, I really want to do this. I really want to read the entirety of Fallout Equestria on stream, or at least get as far into it as possible before I lose my mind. So that being said, we're going to continue off where I left off last time, which was like, what, 5-6 months ago? We didn't get that far anyway. We got into like chapter 4, right? Nothing really much happened. And we got some nice, cool background music, kind of just chill in the background. So, if anyone's new to this, what I've started doing is starting to read the fanfiction Fallout Equestria by Kkat, which is a big My Little Pony fanfiction. I thought it was really cool, being that I am a brony, or used to be, and I also used to be a fan of Fallout. Not anymore, but I still really like the world building behind it. So we're gonna continue reading Fallout Equestria. The story is, if you're familiar with Fallout, it is the same idea. It is the world of Fallout. You got vaults, radiation, the war, ghouls, mole rats, all those good stuff, but it's inside Equestria, the world of My Little Pony. And we got one survivor, that is Little Pip. She has left the vault, or in this case the stable, to find a friend of hers, or an acquaintance of hers, Velvet Remedy, who has mysteriously left the vault because so in this little adventure, she's trying to find Velvet Remedy. Little Pip is trying to find Velvet. Don't know where she went, and she got into a whole sorts of trouble. By her I mean Little Pip. She got already on her first day, or first couple of days, she got hit with slavers, bandits, monsters, and everything just falling apart, as you know, normally it would in the Equestrian, in the Wasteland. She meets a sprite bot named the Watcher, who kind of points her in the right direction, sort of teaches her about what it used to be before the war, which was the main six ponies that saves the world. And now Little Pip is on her way to a town and gets ambushed by some guy. She might be dead, but she might not also be dead. Okay, so we're gonna get started. But before I do that, I want to put on my handy dandy vault suit. Got the old 111. I forgot this camera's got the old 111, and not only that, but I decided to pull out this bad boy. I got a nice old Fluttershy hat that I, for the life of me, could not find a good use for other than conventions. This is the most unconventional hat that I ever bought, that I ever owned. It's not even comfy. It's soft, but it's not comfy. This is like a very tight fit for me. Not even good for weather. It's only good for conventions. Anyway, so I'm gonna read where I last left off, which is chapter 5 of Fallout Equestria by Kkat. So this is where we last left off. It is where Little Pip got ambushed by some guy. She took him to be a bandit. Who knows? But the last thing she heard before she passed out is Calamity. What are you doing? Alright, so chapter 5. Calamity. Friendship. Friendship never changes. Alive. Oh yeah, by the way, before I start, sorry. I hope audio levels are good if anyone's here on the stream, and if someone could tell me, hey, mic's too low, or the music's too loud, or too soft, let me know, I'll change it. But for now, alive. I was still alive. As consciousness came back to me, I found myself lying in a mattress, with blankets tucked about me, feeling warm and rested, and more comfortable than I had since before I left Stable 2 3 days ago. At least, I thought it was 3 days. I had no idea how long I had been unconscious. By habit, I lift my forehoof to check the date and the time on my pet buck. In doing so, unsettled the blanket, which proceeded to slide to the floor. Oh, look who's awake! The pretty voice of a mirror awfully close to me shocked me to full alertness. Looking up and about, I found myself surrounded by several ponies, only one of which I recognized, and that was the Pegasus who shot me up in the first place. I wondered if I was his prisoner. The voice had come from an equally pretty white-coated earth pony whose cotton candy pink mane matched the pink and yellow striped nurse's dress she was wearing. Scanning what I could see of the walls through the small crowd of ponies, I saw a line of 3 medical boxes, all the little pink butterflies perfectly in a row, and a faded pre-war poster apparently advertising jobs in healthcare services. You don't need to be a Steel Ranger to be a hero. Join the Ministry of Peace today. Announced on the mare on the poster, barely more than a filly, who wore the exact same dress that I saw brought to life before me. Between the decor and the lack of ropes or chains, I concluded that this was a clinic, and I was not a captive. That's good. It could be a lot worse. Besides, I was actually feeling quite good. Tired, almost like I needed a good nap, except I wasn't sleepy, just tired, and kind of warm. I sat up, had the room spun. Ooh, take it easy there, partner. The Pegasus whose name I recalled was Calamity, although I was a bit fuzzy on how I learned that. Anyway, he said, stepping towards me. I scooted back on the mattress. Oh sure, he looked polite and gentle now, with all these ponies around, but I'd seen him when he was all murder from above, guns blazing death Pegasus. Candy? One of the earth ponies, a gray-coated earth pony with black mane and tail, asked as he looked to my nurse. Although it sounded to me like he was calling her Candy, and I felt an oddly cheerful urge to agree. Oh, she'll be perfectly fine. I mixed up the last healing potion she needed and gave it to less than an hour ago. Mixed? The gray earth pony raised an eyebrow dubiously. Candy smiled. Why, with apple schnapps, of course. I find the medicine always goes down better that way. I couldn't understand why the gray pony face-hoofed. I felt perfectly fine now. Better than fine. And pleasantly warm. The gray stallion started shooing all my guests away. That made me feel slightly sad, although I really didn't know any of them. I had felt so lonely the last few days, so eager to find civilization, and here it was. But he wasn't letting me keep it. A thought which I realized didn't quite make sense, although I wasn't sure why. Come on out when you're feeling up to it. I know there's some ponies who would like to see you. The gray stallion smiled at me. then looked at the rust-colored straggler. "You too, Calamity. Out you go." Calamity took one look back at me before scooting out. Candy pranced up to me, whispering dreamingly, "Such a handsome stallion, is he?" "Who?" "Why, Calamity, of course," she giggled. I was at a loss for words. No, I wasn't. He shot me? She waved that off with a hoof wiggle. I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding." It was, I recalled. But why was I having this conversation? If anything, I wanted to talk about how pretty Candy was. Like, candy. Not to talk about Calamity. Least of all, whether or not he was handsome. None of which seemed to find a suitable way to be spoken aloud. Sulkingly, I fell back on reiterating, "He shot me." He shot me. A lot. More rested, and with a much clearer head, I was eager to meet the ponies of New Appaloosa. By my pip book, I had been out of it for nearly 2 days. I gazed over the railing at the walled village. Multiple lines of what I had realized were railroad tracks converged into a town made up largely of dozens upon dozens of virtually identical homes built from old passenger cars, many of them stacked 2 or 3 high. Most still had their wheels. Heavy metal boxcars formed a ring around the town, with a massive gate on either side. Armed pony guards walked around the tops of the boxcars, keeping their eyes on the wastes outside. Inside, scores of earth and unicorn ponies trotted about their daily lives. The place was dirty, rusty, and altogether wonderful. "How'd you get them stacked like that?" I asked, looking up at the stacked train cars, the tallest group being 4 high. Railing and catwalks spanned out from it, connecting to other towers. On the highest roof, brilliantly glowing letters announced Turnpike Tavern. Rail Light, the gray and black stallion, who turned out to be the sheriff, mayor, general, pulled together of the town, deadpanned. "Had one of my unicorn ponies do it." I turned with a gasp, staring at him. I never heard of a pony levitating anything that big or heavy before. Raillight held that serious expression for a moment longer before chortling. "Yeah, I'm just playing with ya." My astonishment faded to a sheepish grin as he smiled and pointed towards the sky behind us. "That's what the crane is for." Looking back and up, I could see the huge orange tower of metal jutting above the town, a massive hook dangling from its long arm. "Although, if you're looking for a heavy lifter, you can't do better than Crane. You should talk to him." Talk to the crane? I said slowly, trying to gauge if it was another joke, but it wasn't. Crane, he told me, was the name of a unicorn pony who worked in the train yard. "Won't find a stronger telekinetic this side of the Canterlot ruins." With that, Raillight offered to give me the grand tour. New Appaloosa's general supply store was called Absolutely Everything. It was the 4th stop on the tour. Raillight smiled knowingly as he coaxed me towards the odd-looking building. 3 train cars, each with a different type, had been fused together to create the store. One of them was a barrel-shaped car of black metal dominated by a smokestack. This was one of the sources of smoke that I had seen from a distance. Pausing in front of the door, I read the signs beneath the playful block of letters of the store name. Yes, I do deliveries. No hooves, nasty stingers, no service. Ask me about special orders. I won't answer, but I'll get on it. Wasteland Survival Guide, available now. First copy for every family is free. How do you make money off that? If everything's free, if every copy's free. I pushed the door open and stepped inside, and stopped with a gasp as I saw the zombie pony from the Raider library. I could tell that she was the same one by the way one of her eyes rolled up. The fact that she recognized me with an immediate, bright smile and dashed over to give me an uncomfortably squishy hug were admittedly also clues. She backtrotted and waved a forepaw about in what is surprisingly an effective combination of welcome and showing off of the store, something I hated to admit I was thankful for. The stench of her as she hugged me forced me to hold my breath, and I had been sure gagging would have been in plight. Hello again? I said, feeling a little awkward. Last time this Pegasus zombie pony saw me, I was trotting off to a bullet into a raider's brain pan. Howdy, said a familiar voice off to my left. I'd been so focused on the zombie pony that I totally missed that there were other people in the store. Turning, I found Calamity, looking back at me with a bashful smile. Look, before you scamper, I just want to say how sorry I am. I didn't scamper, but although I did take a cautious step back. I've been getting the story from Ditsy-Doo here, see? Ditsy-Doo? I turned to the Pegasus zombie. Wait, you wrote the Wasteland Survival Guide? Both Ditsy-Doo's eyes managed to focus on me, and she absolutely beamed with joy, nodding fervently. Yes, I do deliveries. Suddenly, I had a very good idea how that book ended up in the Ponyville library, which, in turn, fortified my suspicions about Watcher. While I was thinking, Ditsy-Doo had rushed up, another copy of the book in her mouth, and was stuffing it into my saddlebags. The zombie pony was amazingly kind and generous, and had a severe problem with personal space. I opened my mouth to say something. Maybe that I already had a copy, although considering that there had been several pages torn out of the copy of the Raiders table, having another could still be quite helpful. However, whatever I was about to say got derailed by a strange realization. You don't talk much, do you? Could zombie ponies talk? Ditsy-Doo stepped back and opened her muzzle wide, giving me a more of a look inside of her mouth than I ever wanted. Calamity focused my attention. Oh, Ditsy-Doo's tongue was cut out by slavers a few decades ago. She gets by without it real well, though. So then Monterey Jack's warning had been cringingly accurate. Ditsy-Doo trotted to the sales counter, where she picked up a pencil in her teeth and scribbled something on the first sheet of the large pad on notepaper. She dropped the pencil and held up the notepad, her eye going weird again. Looking strictly at the paper so my gaze didn't rudely follow her eye, I read aloud, "Because I couldn't talk, I took up writing. If it hadn't been for that, I would never have gotten so good at it." I looked at her with a blink. Ditsy-Doo put down the pad, picking up the pencil again, and added a line before lifting it for me to read. "Now, how about we get you some better armor?" This is great. That is great. Derpy's the best. Derpy's the best even in here. Okay, gonna take a drink of water. This is a long chapter. Alright, we good? Bottle caps. That's what ponies use for money out here? As absurd as it was, and it was ludicrous, I should have seen it coming. No wonder raiders were hoarding the things. No wonder there were empty bottles littered everywhere, but not a single bottle cap to be found, except, of course, you know, the one I tossed away casually somewhere outside Iron Shot Firearms. My stable utility barding was back at absolutely everything. Ditsy Doo did not have any armor in my size, but she swore she could modify my barding so it was better than the best armor any raider could ever scrounge together. She offered to do it for free, but I insisted on paying for her work. And that's when I discovered the absolutely cockeyed, no offense to Ditsy, barter system used throughout the Equestrian wasteland. Bottle caps. Seriously? What? Fortunately, pre-war money was still worth something, if only in bulk. If for no other reason than that, they can get sodas out of a few machines that had simply been pried open and braided already. Ditsy Doo took out all but a few of my coins. I had no idea if what I had given her was a fair price, but I suspect I was getting a generous discount. She also insisted on giving me a sheet of paper detailing an entirely different use for bottle caps, a way to turn them into homemade mines. Apparently, it was going to be an insert for the Wasteland Survival Guide's chapter on mines that some pony discouraged her, probably wisely, from including. When I had left absolutely everything, Rail-Light commented, "Ditsy Doo's our resident Pegasus, as well as our resident ghoul." Right, because ghoul-pony sounds so much better than zombie pony, yep. Gotcha. Although, he had continued, poking a hoof towards Calamity, "I keep telling this one that he's always welcome to settle down here in my town. He's been keeping the caravan safe for going on 4 years now." Now, I was on my way to meet Crane with Calamity trotting along beside me. I finally ventured conversation with the rust-colored stallion. So you don't live here?" "Nope. Got my own place about half hour's flat distant." I thought over what I knew of Pegasus ponies. Like a place up in the clouds? I could swear Calamity's eyes widened just a bit. "Oh no, just a shack. Something some pony threw together a few generations ago, only to get eaten by the wild animals in here parts." I'd already encountered some of the wild animals in these parts. No fun. As we walked down the catwalk, my gaze fell to the strange weapon that Calamity wore. My eyes following from the gun barrels to the odd metal protrusion that stuck out in front of him. A control mechanism, I suspected. I opened my mouth to talk to him about it, or to ask him about it, only to find myself looking at air. I stopped and looked back. He had halted abruptly to let by a mare in a straw sun hat and her colt. The mare was apparently having trouble keeping the colt from dashing off at top speed. She looked like she wanted a leash. "But Ma, I want to go see Derpy." Calamity leaned in close and whispered, "That's what some folks call Ditsy Doo because of, the eye." Yeah, because that's what they would focus on, right? The bullies back in Stable 2 would totally have ignored the whole putrefying flesh thing for that. She doesn't seem timid. I actually think she finds it endearing. Did not point out that Ditsy Doo did not seem to mind after having her tongue cut out either. Didn't make it right though. "Oh, Trolley, you get back here!" the mother called out as the colt started to trot a little too fast. "And you stay away from that store. I don't want you bothering that thing." Thing? Oh, okay. I'll admit, I thought of her as an it a few times, but that was back when I thought she was dead. I stopped. Hey, excuse me, miss. I'm new here. Is there something wrong with the ghoul ponies? The mayor looked abashed, staring more at Calamity than at me. I didn't need to look. I could feel his scowl. Well, nothing against good old Derpy. Miss Ditzy do, but you know. No what? I persisted, trying not to hint at the shame I was feeling for having balked at her smell, or the grossly squishy way her hug felt. Well, the mayor looked out furtively, then lowered her head, whispering, You know they're all like ticking time bombs, right? I mean, you can see what being a ghoul is doing to their outsides. Can't imagine what's doing to their inside the brains. They all go mad sooner or later. Dear Ditzy, she's lasted a good long time, and she's only a little crazy for it. But someday, I just don't want my boy to hurry that along none, or they'll be there when she does finally turn on us all. And with that, the mare drew herself up, pulled Trolley close, and hurried off, away, notably, from absolutely everything. I stood there a long time, stunned. Finally, I asked Calamity, Is that true? Calamity sighed deeply, which was not a good sign. Yep. For most of them, anyway. You get into the wrong places, you find yourself hunted by a whole packs of, cannibal, ghoul ponies gone zombie, and I mean this, that's only most of them. And even they're good pony folk, if a little smelly and strange looking. Until that day. Some, like Ditzy do, break the odds and never lose their noodle. I understood the spirit of his words, but the news didn't make me scared of the hairless Pegasus rider. It just made me ache for her. So yeah, that's cool. Ghouls. Yeah, these are all based on like the Fallout. These are all Fallout rules, but it's so fun. It's all so fun how they're applied to ponies. And it also works. Like the great Todd Howard says, it just works. So let's thank our Lord and Savior Todd Howard for creating Fallout Equestria. Oh man. Okay, here we go. Crane was a yellow unicorn pony with an orange and beige striped mane and tail. Orange and beige striped mane and tail. He wore a bright orange construction hat with a hole of it for his horn. When we found him, he was loading barrels into a flatbed of a train car. This one actually is still in the tracks that ran through town and connected to several others. Howdy, pleased to meet the little mare with the pip buck who saved Sweet Apple and Ditzy Doo, not to mention Desert Rose, Barrel Cactus, and Turquoise. He stopped to shake my hoof vigorously. Pleased to meet you too, I smiled, feeling a touch wobbly after the hoof shake. Raillight told me you're the pony to talk to if I want to see some heavy lifting. Crane smiled and casually lifted 3 barrels at once, putting them in their place on the flatbed. Reckon I am. Then to my shock, he asked, What kind of spells you got? Spells? I replied hesitantly. Oh, you know. He continued talking while 3 more barrels levitated by, glowing with the same light as shown from his horn. Unicorn ponies generally have a small collection of magical spells, usually related to what he or she is destined to be at. Except for the ones who are destined to be good at spells, of course, because they can learn a whole heap of them. Me, for instance, I can make all manner of repairs to the rails and the trains just by focusing on them. Oh crap. kicking a hoof at the ground, I sighed deeply. Nope. Just telekinesis. No spells. I knew it was pathetic. Levitation was basically filly stuff. By the time I got my cutie mark, every other unicorn in Stable 2 had a nice collection of spells. Thank you, Crane, for reminding me that I was probably the most unmagical unicorn ever. Great, thanks. Crane's eyes widened in surprise, and quickly changed the subject. Now I've got lots of work to do, but I'll tell you what. If y'all would do me a small favor, I'll return it by teaching you everything I know about heavy lifting. Sounded great to me. What's the favor? Fetch him a soda, maybe some lunch, help them tie down the barrels on the flatbed. We've been having a small bit of trouble with the things that have been crawling up just out of that stable west of here. From what I hear, y'all might be brave and no slouch when slinging a firearm. Just get down to the stable and close the door. I reckon we can clear out the vomits up here if some pony locks up the breeding grounds. Okay. So it's not a soda run. Great. Thanks, Crane. Thanks, man. Hooray! We're some percentage of the way there. So yeah, I started this project, like specifically this fanfic reading, a long time ago, and we're only at chapter 5. This story is very long. I wanted to do this reading like every week or every other week, but I just never committed to it. Man, imagine how far we could have been if I actually kept to a consistent schedule for once. Anyway, let's move on. So, why are you with me again? The sky had darkened prematurely. I would soon have to turn on the lamp spell on my pip book. I figure I'd owe you one, Calamity said earnestly as he followed beside me. Maybe a whole mess of ones, considering all you did for the good ponies of Appaloosa. And with a sigh, I tried to console him. You couldn't have known. I was wearing, like, blood-caked raider armor, carrying an arsenal that would make the average raider radioactive in envy. Caked in raider blood. Armor you got cause you only needed protection while saving the lives of 5 good towns only 4 really. Ditsy-Do saved Sweet Apple. Whatever. And you saved Ditsy-Do so she could save Sweet Apple. In my book, that makes 5. And he took a sweet breath. And besides, I can't consent to you going down there alone. I've heard dark stories about the stables. Bad things happen down in too many of them. But I came from a stable. Hell, every pony came from some pony who came from a stable, right? I can see why an empty one would be an inviting nesting ground, but it's not like the stables are cursed or sinister. Fun fact, if this is where I think it's going, because vaults are mostly designed to be social experiments for the most part, this might be a fun one. This might be a fun little quest. Calamity mulled that over. Yeah, I suppose you're right about that, all except the few like Ditsy-Do who somehow survived the apocalypse on the surface, or are descended from folks who did. I halted my trot so abruptly I nearly fell over. My surviving canteen refilled, swung out, and back, smacking me in the chest. Wait, Ditzy survived the war? She's that old? Yep. Ghoul ponies don't age like normal pony folk do. Oh, I forgot about that. Ghouls, like, last forever. The idea of a pony who had actually been around way back then, who knew what actually happened, blew my mind away. So, what's her story? Calamity snorted a laugh. So long, couldn't even guess at most of it. I do know she was flying outside Cloudsdale when that first mega spell hit it. She was caught at the very edge of the magical energies that wiped the entire city out of existence. Been a ghoul ever since. I nodded, continuing on in solemn silence. The image of an entire city in the clouds filled with Pegasus ponies playing out in my head. There 1 minute, and then just nothing. The clouds above started to leak. It was like being in a shower back in Stable 2, only the shower was everywhere, and it didn't stop. If I hadn't been cleaned by Candy the day before, I would have welcomed it, despite the cold of the water. Now soaked to the bone, I just found it miserable. The sky had turned so dark I had to turn on my Pip-Buck's lamp spell to see ahead of me. In theory, it was still daylight, but that was hard to believe. A ferocious wind had picked up out of nowhere and was whipping the rain at us like a weapon. What's going on? I cried out to Calamity above the storm. It's a thunderstorm, and a mighty big one. We best be finding some shelter because it's just getting started. Thunderstorm? I hollered back as a patch of clouds lit up briefly but brilliantly. What's thunder? Boom! The sky exploded. It was like the sound of a gunshot if the gun was wielded by Celestia herself and was made out of pure awesome. I actually tried hiding under Calamity. Get your hold of yourself there. Timidly and a little bashfully, I backed up and got to my hooves. Another flash illuminated the whole countryside in stark, whitened shadow, gone before I had realized it had happened. Another mighty boom toward the sky, following close behind the flash. Calamity had put his forehooves on me to stop me from trying again. If y'all scared to the thunder, wait till you actually see the lightning, he chuckled. Now let's get moving so we can find some shelter. Each flash of light in the clouds was followed by a terrifying crack or a mighty boom. A little later, I did indeed see the lightning. I'd been envisioning lightning bolts like those blasts of electricity the brain bots had been shooting at me. This was nothing like that. This was a white tear through the sky, like the universe itself had been slashed open. It lasted an eye blink, but I saw its after image floating in front of my face for several minutes later. I also saw some pony, or I thought I did, in the far distance on a hilltop, briefly illuminated by the lightning. I couldn't tell if it was a unicorn or a Pegasus, at first. I thought it was both, but the vision was gone before I could be sure I had seen anything at all. We galloped, the ground beneath us increasingly muddy and treacherous, until we were forced to stop by a raging, frothy river. The muddy, rushing water was tearing away at the banks on each side. I could see the black shapes of uprooted dead trees as they were carried away. Just beyond the other side rose a cliff face. Water was pouring down the cracks of the cliff in 100 rivulets, each feeding into the river at the bottom. Across from us, just a little way off the cliff, was the dark mouth of a cave, the path up to it already washed away. I stood there, staring helplessly, trying to figure out how we were going to get across. Then I felt myself being lifted into the air as Calamity flew us over the river and set me down in the mouth of the cave feeling stupid. I stepped further in, shining the lamp on my pip-buck into the cave. The path continued up about a yard and then took a steep decline with frightfully old metal stairs, rusted nearly black, leading to a concrete landing. Once at the landing, the rough walls were replaced by stonework. At the end, a very familiar-looking steel door hung open on its hinge arm. The number 24 was emblazoned on the center of the door. Beyond lay a rusted, ruined doppelganger of the place I had once believed would forever be my home. Calamity rushed past me. Now, don't you stand there gawking. Help me get this door shut before that darned river spills its banks completely and floods a hole. He was trying to push the door physically. I looked down, noticing for the first time that the door of the cave was already a puddle 2 inches deep and growing. Move to action. I rushed to the controls. I paused long enough to check the bolting mechanism, which was actually entirely missing, and making sure I'd be able to open it again. Satisfied I could, I tried to push up the lever, and it didn't want to go. Focusing, my horn glowing brightly, I added my telekinetic strength to that of my hooves. With a loud grinding sound, the lever moved. With a wheeze, the lever arm moved, and the door to stable 24 slammed shut, groaning in protest. So that sucks. I mean, you can see it on the next line. Yeah. You just realized we just shut ourselves into the evil, scary stable of spookiness, right? Into whatever varmints are in there breeding. I teased my self-invited companion as he stared about the place in wonder. I'm trusting you're right about what you said earlier. Reckon if any pony knows better, it would be you. He shot me a nervous smile. But besides, he added, flapping his wings, not like these are gonna do me any good down here, one way or another. My eyes caught the harness Calamity wore. The Pegasus had twin long-range rifles, one strapped to each side of his body right under his wings. Built into a saddle mechanism, the thin metal reins reached out in front of him, ending in a bit that hovered a few inches below his mouth. By biting on it, the sibling barrels would fire at once. The saddle was designed to reload on command, possibly triggered by pulling on the bit or biting differently. Couldn't tell. Hey, Calamity, I've been meaning to ask you, what is that? I pointed a hoof at the contraption. What? He turned, looking around, spinning in place. I couldn't suppress a laugh. He stopped, looked at me, then back behind him once again, once more before. Oh, what, you mean my battle saddle? I nodded. Fine piece of work, ain't it? I designed it myself. He reared up, showing it off proudly. Then, at my expression, asked... You mean to tell me you ain't ever seen a battle saddle before? Shook my head. Well, ain't that a thing? He strutted about. Hey, there's basically two types of firearms, loosely speaking. There's the small ones that a pony could stick in his mouth, or levitate around if he's a unicorn. Then there's the battle saddles, for all the firearms that are just too big and heavy and have too much of a kick to be wielded without support. I've seen all kinds of weapons built into battle saddles. Machine guns, rocket launchers. My tail drooped, and my ears fell back at the thought. Yep. Even magical energy weapons, he paused. Oh, even magical energy weapons. He paused. So, those are damn scarce, so you're not likely able to see one of them yourself. I super doubt that. Press X to doubt. I filed that away for future reference. After checking my pip book for radiation or similar dangers and EFS, for any glows of hostility, I took a long gulp from my canteen and began plotting our course. I was confident from my lifetime in the stable that I could navigate this one with no problems. If the layout was the same, the door to the right in the next room should lead to stairs headed downward. That would be the cafeteria, living quarters, school, and clinic. To the left, a corridor leading deeper into maintenance, including the ever-familiar pit-buck technician maintenance stall. And without a second thought, I decided we would go right first. Calamity, meanwhile, had scouted all the immediately adjacent rooms. He came back with a mildly surprised look. Hey, they got a box of dynamite in the storage over yonder. That's crazy. Okay, that's a bit surprising. I felt my ears stick up. You weren't gonna find that in Stable 2. What was in it? Dynamite, I reckon. Calamity said, mock scholarly. In truth, yeah, I don't know for sure. It was locked. And was about to go shaking it like a birthday present trying to figure it out, you know. On the chance that it might be full of, you know, dynamite. I followed the rust-colored Pegasus back to the storage room to check it out, but after 3 tries and the loss of 2 more bobby pins, which I was beginning to run alarmingly low on, I had to admit that the lock was beyond even my self-proclaimed expertise. Instead, I suggested we move along the path I originally planned. The door to the living quarters slid open with a reassuring hiss. The lights gave off a familiar whine. Those that still worked. Already, Stable 24 was making me horribly homesick. Worse, the dull ache in my heart, mixed with disconcerting sense of wrongness. Seeing this place in rust and ruins was unpleasant in a way that I couldn't describe. It was like walking through my own personalized version of the post-apocalypse. I was finding doors that wouldn't open. The door was strewn with tin cans and litter. The generators, uncared for, were making an odd, rhythmic churring, and from deeper within, chugging, banging, and hissing sounds that had no place in a stable at all. This was a demoralizing, eerie, spookhouse version of Stable 2. MLP Fallout, that's a weird combo. Oh man, it's super. It feels super strange at first for pigeons, but it's actually like very funny and strangely well, like it kind of works. It just sort of does, which makes me like so interested in this. Also, it's like the 2 things that I really like. I turned to look back at Calamity and caught him picking bottle caps off the floor. I bit my lip, bracing against a wave of emotion that shrieked as he was desecrating the place. Looting and scavenging was survival out in the equestrian wasteland, and, logically, that applied to in here too. But even more than stripping goods off fresh corpses, this felt like grave robbing. Unholy. Guess can't complain, eat chicken hamburger with strawberry jam. Ooh, I've never heard of that combo before. I'm guessing it's one of those rare things. It's like, yeah, you gotta try it. It's like super good. there was like few things. There was like a burger place like not too far from here that I never got to try because I thought it was too weird. Because they had like, it was like a burger, and they put I forgot what they put. They put like pineapple. That's it. They put pineapple in burger. But the thing was, the pineapple is grilled, so you don't taste the sweetness as much as you taste the cooking, the barbecue-ness. And I'm like, okay, this makes sense. People think pineapple on pizza is like too extreme. What about pineapple in a burger? Now that's controversy right there. Depends on the burger, the place where I buy is slightly salty, goes well with sweet. Yeah, so that's good. There's a balance between salt and sweet that's very hard to achieve. If a place can do it, then it's a good place. Oh, but it's like a thin layer. Oh, okay, yeah. So it's you're not feeling the jam, you're just feeling the sweet. Some people eat fries with ice cream. Yeah, no, that's true. That's classic. Fries with ice cream. That's super classic. But yeah, weird combos do go together. Like this fan fiction. I'm gonna keep going. My feelings scattered as overhead, a burst of thunder hit so close to the cave that we could hear it inside the stable. My heart thumped in my chest. What the hell? I stammered, waving my forehoofs to indicate the sky outside. Yeah, I told you. Thunderstorm. Gonna lurk while you play something? Awesome. Appreciate it. Hope you have fun with my voice. That's like something I say time to time. I hope like my streams, my voice is like at least something that people can just chill to or sleep to. That's fine. But yeah, thank you for the lurk. Hope you play something really cool. That isn't like any storm I've read about in my textbooks I countered. Calamity looked at me with a softly mocking expression. Well, weather ain't like it used to be. The sun and moon ain't guided through the sky by ponies anymore. We Pegasus. Yeah, the goddesses Celestia and Luna move the sun and the moon through the sky each and every day. I shot back, scandalized. How could he even say that? That was like, it's like blasphemy. Celestia and Luna, they're forever, man. How could you say that? Oh yeah. Yeah. He rolled his eyes at me. He rolled his eyes. From their place in pony heaven. Right. Oh, that's partially the reason why you followed? Awesome. So that means I'm doing something right. I bristled. He stared quietly until I gave in, motioning for him to continue. As I was saying, we Pegasus ain't around scheduling the weather either. Equestria's weather has gone wild. I felt a chill down my mane. Through the metal walls and the fountain, we felt the percussion of the storm. I had begun to wonder how over-engineered Stable 2 must have been for me to never have heard storms like these. Obviously, it was designed to stay closed longer, which I was figuring probably accounted for other architectural differences that I started to notice. Huh, I thought out loud. There's only one section of bathrooms. At least, only one of the living quarters section of the stable. Back in Stable 2, there were 2 bathrooms, one for mares, one for stallions. The floor outside was wet, and I could hear a roar, gurgling, splashing sounds from behind the bathroom door. Also, unlike Stable 2, Stable 24 was connected to the aquifer, its water supply merely purified with anti-toxin and anti-radiation spells. With the downpour outside, every sink and toilet was backing up. Because there's nowhere for the water to go. If the outside is flooded, there's nowhere. This stable's gonna be a mess. Hey, Tennis, I forgot to give you bear hugs back in Discord. I saw your message this morning. I woke up to it. I saw like, oh yeah, I should reply. I forgot to give you bear hugs. I'm sorry. Bear hugs. How's it going, man? How you been? Great stream the other day with FF8. Super forgot to tell you that. The same went for the water fountains. The one between the school and the living quarters was spraying brown water. The horrible noises were coming from the pipes and plumbing rather than unnatural monsters. I stopped dead as a red spot flashed up on my compass on my EFS. Somewhere, just ahead of us, was surely one of the creatures Crane had talked about. Not I realized that either of us had bothered to get a description. We don't even know what it looks like. So any idea exactly what sort of varmint we're supposed to be looking for down here? I whispered, as we both crouched down, moving as stealthily as possible. Oh, you'll stream later tonight. Awesome. More FF8? While bathrooms weren't segregated, the sleeping areas were. Awesome. The main floor for stallions, and the lower one for the mares. That too was different from Stable 2, where the quarters were geared towards families. My EFS felt annoyingly limited, unable to tell me which level the creature was on. Just that it was almost dead ahead now. I levitated out Little Macintosh, ready as I could be. Actually, no, Calamity whispered back. And as I recall, we ain't supposed to be looking for him. We're just supposed to close the door. As I recall, I retorted, maybe a slight bit less quietly than I should have. I'm supposed to be closing the door. You aren't supposed to be anywhere. I couldn't deny that he had a point. In fact, if trapped inside a creature's lair, poking around was probably the dumbest thing a pony could possibly do. On the other hoof, this was another stable. My curiosity and sense of connection wouldn't allow me to leave it unexplored. And if I was trapped in here for a few hours, well, no time like the present. Calamity shook his head and followed all the same. We moved a few steps closer, and the red spot winked out. I turned quickly, trying to see if it had somehow gotten behind us, but there was nothing. Either the creature had evaporated, or we were right on top of it, one floor up. We crouched there, keeping still and quiet. After a moment, the red spot appeared again, once more right in front of us, and a few seconds later it vanished once more. This time, apparently, for good. Aside from age and deterioration, the school in Stable 24 looked exactly like the one back home. Students' tables, all in nice little rows, a sharing area with toys, the teacher's desk with a terminal, pencil, and even a long rotted apple. The only difference was a large glass tank, which could have been once an aquarium. Even with rusted walls, this felt like home. It should have been comforting. Instead, it was unpleasantly weird, and it was putting me on edge. The constant banging and screaming of the pipes was adding to my discomfort and giving me a mild headache for good measure. Worst of all, we had encountered 3 more ghosts, hostile entities that appeared on my eyes forward sparkle, but nowhere else. A matter not at all helped by the fact that Calamity had no pip buck on his own, so he couldn't tell what I was reacting to. I was beginning to worry that my ice-forward sparkle or even my pip buck itself had been damaged or warped by exposure to the equestrian wasteland. Unlikely, I reassured myself, remembering that they were made to withstand much worse than this. What was more likely, and less comforting, was that the creatures down here had magic of their own. Y'all ever heard of any pony named Prince Celeste? What? What? I tried it over, brow furring? Let me see that, I said, snatching the book from the desk in front of him with a glow of telekinesis. I read a few sentences, then slammed the book shut to look at the cover. It was a children's storybook. The Stallion in the Moon? Calamity chuckled. You know, I think I remember my ma reading me a story like that. Only it was a mare in the moon if I recollect. That's because it's supposed to be the mare on the moon. Quickly, I began looking through the other books on the desks and school shelves. When I was done, I had reached to an important feeling observations. 1. Every significant pony in the book had been changed to a stallion. Oh, I know what kind of vault this is. It's no incest vault, but it's fairly close. Well, I suspect some of them were stallions to begin with. 2. I continued undaunted, even though my voice sounded strained even to my own ears. Not one story or textbook has anything but the vaguest references to the history or governance of Equestria. Not that Stable-Tec's library was stellar in that regard. The most recent history in our textbooks was over a generation old. But this here wasn't a lack of material, it was a deliberate alteration of facts and context. In the portion of the stable dedicated to education, it was... You know, you're gonna burst something if you don't calm down a touch. Okay, this is an interesting vault already. This is great. Oh, you love my hat for pigeons? Thank you, thank you. I never have used this hat ever outside of like conventions. I've only used it once at a trip to BronyCon, and like once more at a Comic-Con, and that's it. I cannot get this hat. I can never wear this hat outside in public. Not because it looks like strange, but it's actually not that a comfy hat. It looks nice, not that comfy. It's too small. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. I tossed the book I was holding into a corner with malice. I was about to trot out. Indignation wrapped about me like a cloak. When I remember the terminal sitting on the teacher's desk, the screen was giving off a soft glow. I trotted over and prepared to hack into it, only to be slightly disappointed when it offered up its secrets readily. Such as they were. Their entries were mainly filled with notes on attendance and grades. Two stuck out though. First, I had a real surprise when we tested the young unicorns on their magic today. I had all my little ponies bring in their pets and show me that they could make them levitate. Simple enough, although a squirming animal can add a level of difficulty for foals at this age. I had to let both Butter and Peridance each borrow the class mascot, since neither have a pet of their own. Peridance was thrilled, but I think Butter is terrified of the snake, even though she's been told it's defanged and harmless. Needless to say, Butter didn't do very well. The real surprise was little Quanta, who has been struggling with even minor levitation all year. Now I know these things have never occurred recorded in girls, but I can't imagine any other explanation. We had a full magical epiphany occur right in the classroom. Quanta not only levitated herself, but she let out a flash of energy that affected all of the pets in the room. Most just panicked and had to be recovered, but some, including our mascot, seemed to have vanished completely. Strangest of all, the arcane flash seemed to have transformed Carrot Tail's ugly old cat into, well, an even uglier old cat? It only lasted a moment. Quanta seems fine. Didn't even realize what she's done. Of course, parents had to be called and Carrot Tail is traumatized. It will be a miracle if I could teach these foals anything for the rest of the week. Meanwhile, I'm going to write up a proposal to have another unicorn stallion watch over these tests from now on, just as a precaution. Okay, I don't think I don't think this vault is gonna go the way I thought it was gonna go. The second entry that stuck out was 4 days later. It was the last entry on the terminal. I expected a few parents to keep their colts and fillies home after the excitement at the beginning of the week, but by now, they should be letting them back. Instead, attendance is at its lowest yet. Over half my students have skipped their classes today. If things haven't turned around after the weekend, I'm gonna have to start calling parents. And if that doesn't work, maybe even the over-stallion. I stared at that last entry for a while. Wait, the over-stallion? Calamity looked at me curiously. What's wrong? This overmare of the stable was an over-stallion? He blinked, and then his eyes narrowed just a little. Well, what's wrong with that? The overmare is supposed to be an overmare. That's what's wrong. It was like explaining to a child, but instead of understanding, his eyes narrowed even more. Are you saying a fella can't do what a girl can do? Taken aback suddenly, I tried to find the best way to explain. No, that's not it at all. I waved my hoofs in negation. It's just, it's the way it's supposed to be. It's tradition. He didn't move. His voice was very even. You're saying that even if there was a fella who was better than leading a stable than any other pony, stallion, or mare, and had the cutie mark to show for it and everything, then he wouldn't be allowed on the count that he was a book? I gulped, taking a step back. Damn it, but I was right. Yet there was nothing I could say to explain that I was right by digging myself deeper, so instead I clammed up and said nothing. Calamity turned and walked out of the classroom. This time I followed him. Oh, we're only halfway done with this chapter. Oh, tonight is just this chapter. Calamity felt embarrassed. I felt something creeping more towards anger. It wasn't that this turn should have taken us towards this atrium. I could forgive a severe divergence in stable design, although it did irk me. It wasn't the heroic stallion or the simpering mares. There's a desire to be special and to be admired for your accomplishments that the poster played, to which I fully understood. It wasn't even that this was the 5th poster we came across and all of them catered to the same gender bias. It was that the stallion in the picture was valiantly holding a wrench with his teeth, and the unspeakable horror that had the girl ponies all cringing like frightened bunnies was apparently a leaky sink. Carefully, so as to not step on another social mine. Do you see why I'm upset? This isn't like give it to the best pony who cares about tradition. This is... Yep, this is manipulation. All of these posters been here since the ponies trotted up to the stable to avoid the apocalypse. He turned and fixed me with a look. It's like saying that a job's only fit for either a mare or a stallion. I got the point. And that's only true for cooking. I stopped. My ear shot up for a moment, and I bet they could have been steaming. What is that spot? And then I caught his sly look. Oh, okay. I guess I deserve that. Yep. We were quiet a moment. I turned to hack the storeroom terminal and read over the logs of a pony who appeared to be the maintenance supervisor, while Calamity hoof-picked some supplies worth scavenging. The clanging and banging of the pipes continued relentlessly, but for a moment, I felt a little less stressed. I felt that I had just made it out of the social minefield, singed but intact. So, naturally, that was the best moment everything went to hell. I had just finished the 4th entry and it was partway through the final entry when my EFS flared up, but not one ghost, but 5. Entry 1. I cannot believe my luck. Persimmon is one fine mare. The date last night went incredibly well. She even let me kiss her, and her little filly, Carrot Tail, seemed to like me too. Even better, I kinda like her. I don't have to pretend like I thought I would just to spend some more time with her mother. In fact, we have a second date planned tomorrow night. Oh, and Greyhorn finally fixed the lighting on level 2B. That flickering was driving every pony bonkers. Entry 2. Damn it, of all the luck. First a whole lighting strip on guess which level blows out, plunging the damn atrium into blackness in the middle of rush. Even worse, Persimmon postponed our date. Some unicorn filly did something wonky to Carrot Tail's pet, and Persimmon been with her all day trying to keep the little cunt from drowning in her own tears. I take it back. I hate children. Damn. Entry 3. Got called to the Overstallion's office today. Big emergency that required my special talents. Any guesses? He locked himself out again. This is the 3rd time this week. Fortunately, any pony with half a lick of sense could get that thing open. Weakest damn lock I've ever seen. Still, just in case Greyhorn has to do it again. Just in case Greyhorn ever has to do it, I left a handful of bobby pins and a copy of Today's Locksmith in the maintenance locker room safe. I even highlighted the most useful bits for him, so long as he doesn't forget the password. Even he shouldn't have a problem, and I made his password his name, so... hell. You'll still probably forget it. Meanwhile, my love life's been taking a turn for the worse. Persimmon's filly is apparently in the clinic. I hear the cat attacked her. They'll probably have to put it down. Entry 4. Where the hell is Greyhorn? Idiot missed his whole damn shift today. Called up to his room but no answer. God damn it, I gotta do everything around here myself. Oh, I replaced the entire lighting assembly up on 2B, and guess what? We're still having problems. I swear to God, the ponies who built this whole place have been cutting corners. Probably cheated Stable-Tec out of fat loads of money. Hope their asses melted when the mega spells hit. I love this guy. This guy's got personality. Entry 5. Still no Greyhorn. Talk with some others. They haven't seen him either. Suggested I check medical. Would be just like him to find some way to fall and impale himself on his own horn. Damn it, there's that scratching sound again. Something's managed to get into the ventilation system. I removed several of the covers on this floor. Hopefully, whatever it is will fall out, and I won't have to send some cult crawling in after it. Oh, did I mention how much I hate children? Double damn it. I just spotted the thing staring down at me. If I didn't know any better, I'd say it was Carrot Tail's damn cat. But they caught it. They put it down yesterday. Triple damn it. The damn thing just bit me. I swear I'm gonna set a cold up there after it with a flamethrower. Looking up. Oh, okay, I know where this is gonna go. Fuck. Oh, this sucks. Looking up, I saw the dark so that's how it. Okay. Looking up, I saw the dark opening where the covering grate should have been, and several pairs of alien eyes gleaming at me. Calamity, get back! They're in the vents! Calamity backed away at my shout, even as the first creature leapt out, landing on the shoveling, spilling a bucket of fuses, crashing to the floor. It looked only vaguely feline, but with scales rather than fur, oversized fangs and cat-like eyes, save that its slits ran horizontally. Somehow, that last part freaked me out the most. I had made the mistake of putting little Macintosh away. When it leapt at me, I didn't have time to draw the gun out or even think. I reacted instinctually, grabbing the creature telekinetically and hurling it away from me, just like with a grenade. Only this time we were in a small room and there was no place for it to go, so it just thumped back against the wall, pinned and hissing. It's probably super pissed. A second jumped out, hitting the terminal, and fell to the floor. I raised a hind hoof and brought it down as hard as I could on the creature's head. Rearing up, I treated the one I was pinning to a fatal blow from one of my forehooves. The third jumped right down onto me, claws catching into my mane. I screamed like a little filly, Get off! Get it off! Get it off! I bucked, panicking, sending a hind hoof through the terminal with a crunching of glass and a popping explosion. I could feel the hairs around my hoof singeing. I turned towards the doorway and saw Calamity taking aim. Kablam! My mind conjured up a flashback of being wounded and dying, shot multiple times by the very same pony who was swooping down the tracks, aiming at me again. Without my thinking, I threw myself to the floor, trying to dodge the shot. A second after, Calamity had already fired, ripping the cat snake thing apart and leaving me unscathed. I got wobbly up to my hooves. I tried to smile, although I could feel it was more like a grimace. I could read it in his face. He wanted to tell me that I should trust him, to tell me to stop being afraid he was going to shoot me. But he wasn't going to, because he knew that I had every right and reason to be gun-shy around him, that I should be acting this way. In that moment, I realized something. He was actually sorry he shot me. Not sorry he shot the new local hero who saved some townsfolk, but sorry he shot me. He wasn't here out of embarrassment. He wasn't trying to fix some loss of reputation or standing, either in his eyes or anyone else's. He really felt regretful that I nearly died. I didn't even realize I was thinking about him that way, but now I realize I had been. Damn it, now I felt like I should apologize to him. He turned away. He looked up at the ceiling. I figured the sound of the shot scared them off. For now, I agreed. I had my revelation, but I couldn't tell him. He'd just deny it, and then there'd be awkwardness. He was a boy, after all. Damn it, I scolded myself for having such a thought. Not that it was hard to figure out that he had me thinking like that. I glared at the stupid poster. I hate this stable, man. Sorry, I shouldn't say man. That word does not exist in this vocabulary. Vernacular. Little Macintosh whipped around, firing off 3 more SATS guided shots. 3 more of the evil little cat snake things were blown into oblivion. They were easy to kill, which hardly made up for being so small, fast, and agile, and extremely aggressive. Several more tried to jump onto Calamity, finding purchase with their claws. He bucked, throwing back his wings and sending them flying, and buck kicked one of the fallen into a reddish paste. How many of these things, these little monster, you reckon we got? I fired at one of the creatures Calamity had thrown, missing, and again hitting this time. The last got by me, leaping for Calamity's back. I heard him howl as the creature sunk his teeth into the back of his neck. Oh. Don't worry, I've got it. I wrenched the creature away telekinetically, my horn glowing fiercely as it brought little Macintosh up into the mewling thing, dripping with Calamity's blood, and pulled the trigger. Damn, those things got a bite. Hold still, let me look. I was already pulling medical bandages out of my saddlebags. I was nearly out of those. I knew we could get some either in the clinic, which should be ahead, or in the living quarters bathroom, which would mean a lot of backtracking. We had gone through maintenance. A trip that had been a long, wet, and uneventful slog through the lowest part of the stable, which was half filled with water. We had found the locker room, and with the password we had opened the safe. My bobby pin collection was now far more comfortable, and today's locksmith was tucked neatly in my saddlebags. The only creatures we had found in maintenance were dead, drowned. Despite looking like a cross between a serpent and a cat, the little monsters didn't seem able to swim. Thank the wasteland for small favors when you can get them. We did, however, start finding skeletons. Sporadically at first, but now in groups. The closer we got to the atrium, the heart of the stable, the more death we found. I couldn't hold back the images of someone walking through Stable 2 and finding the bodies of everyone I had known for all of the last few days of my life dead like this. For a moment it was too much. I had to rest, to clear my mind. No less than 9 of the damn things chose that moment to attack us. Wrapping Calamity's wound, I grimaced at my lack of medical skill. If I tried to join the Ministry of Peace, they'd kick me out of my tail. It was bad enough when I only would die if I didn't know the right end of a potion bottle. I really didn't like having any pony else relying on my lack of skill. Still, we were up and moving in the right direction, except we really weren't, were we? The more I thought about it, the less reasonable my reasons for wandering around here seemed. Finishing, I turned away and looked back down the way we came. Okay, that's it. I've been a dumb pony. We turn around, gallop back to the entrance as fast as we can, barricade ourselves, and wait the damn storm out. Then we leave, close the door behind us. Actually, I vote we continue to go to the clinic. I turned, surprised, seeing Calamity. My surprise turned to shock. The horror. I'm guessing y'all... He teetered, looking pale beneath his coat. Yeah, y'all keep something there for poison? Thump. Went down to Pegasus. Calamity! Chimera. From the personal note. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Chimera. From the personal notes of Dr. Bryoberry, head of medicine, Stable 24. I've chosen to call this new species Chimera for what I feel are suitably obvious reasons. The creature is a result of wild magical burst from a rather exceptionally gifted filly named Quanta. In a flash of uncontrolled magical power, Quanta managed to fuse several creatures within her vicinity into a single being. A fully functional and completely new life form. Does that include the ponies that disappear? Oh. Fuck. The initially created chimera took several days to molt before revealing its true nature, during which time another filly, Kkat, was attacked by the creature. She was rushed to the clinic, but perished within hours from an unknown magical toxin injected into the child by the creature. After molting, the chimera subsequently attacked a maintenance worker by the name of Greyhorn. This time, both the chimera and its victim were fully mature. Based on the case of Kkat, we treated Greyhorn with anti-venom spells and potions, but to no avail. Greyhorn lasted 3 times as long as Kkat and was in extreme agony for most of that period. It was only after Greyhorn's death that we learned the key component of the chimera's makeup. You will able to see from the images As you will able to see from the images I am having attached to this document, the feline and serpentine elements of the fusion are quite obvious. See images 1 and 2. What we initially didn't realize, couldn't have suspected, is that there had been some manner of insect in the classroom when Ro cast her spell. And that too was infused into the creature on a deeply inherent level. You see, the fangs of the chimera aren't so much like the fangs of a rattlesnake, but more akin to an insect's ovipositor. I've seen that word a lot. I never know how to properly pronounce it. Or maybe I'm just tired. The behavior of the species is extremely aggressive, attacking any suitable host within which it can inject its eggs. Over the course of a single day, those eggs will mature within the host, after which a litter of new baby chimera will dig their way out of the infected pony, ultimately killing the host if the pony is not already dead. God damn, I hate this vault. In the case of Greyhorn, 5 new chimera erupted from his body less than an hour after he was pronounced dead. God, those images must be horrendous. You can imagine the look on my assistant's face, but you don't have to. See image. Don't look on his face. Look at the image. Get the look on your own face. God, that sucks. That's the worst. Fortunately, from the case of Greyhorn and the baby chimera specimens he provided us with, we have been able to devise and conjure an anti-chimera potion. Unfortunately, some of the herbs required were in tragically short supply, so there's a high probability that we will not have sufficient quantities for everyone. The Stallion is keeping 1 bottle locked away in his office, along with the recipe. Meanwhile, I'm storing the rest of the medical refrigerator here in the clinic, and while I wait for the Stallion's decision on how to implement dispersal. Wait, if you have a recipe, why don't you just make more? Or I guess the... Oh, okay, because the herbs to make them is... Okay, fine. Fine. Oh god, oh, Celestia, have mercy. Oh my god. By the time I was done reading, horror turned me numb. Slowly, I got up from Dr. Briarbury's terminal and stared about the clinic. There were pony skeletons everywhere. Dozens of them surged towards the open door of the medical fridge. Others were entangled around each other. A new species, extremely hostile, which renders its victims immobile with a single bite and then tortures them to death from the inside over most of a day. And in doing so, it can quintuple its number? I swiftly realized that the only thing that had kept the chimera from overrunning the equestrian wasteland was that river and the fact that the chimera can't swim. Thank the wasteland for huge favors. God damn. Sorry, Celestia, damn. If we have survived this, I was going to have a little talk with Crane about his definition about a small bit of trouble. Understatement was not a virtue. in the Equestrian wasteland. God damn it. Sorry, Celestia damn it, Crane. I looked at the bed Calamity was resting on, looking even weaker than before. Oh, goddess. I couldn't tell him this. Let's just let him think he's poisoned. It's so much better. It's so much better than knowing that you have insect babies growing inside you. Pointlessly, I stepped over and swung back the door of the fridge, already knowing that I would find nothing inside. Damn. Okay, one last shot. I walked to the clinic window, looked out to the atrium. The room was dark. Every light in it had failed. The only illumination came from the couple still functional lights of the clinic, and the stuttering, flickering light from the circular window in the over Stallion's office above. If there was a single dose of the antidote left, it would be locked away in a safe there, and the only way to get it was through the atrium. And the atrium was teeming with chimera. Swallowing hard, I turned to Calamity and told them the plan. After staring at me for a long time, Calamity finally said, "That's insane." I focused. My horn began to glow and slipped open my saddle pack. I'll be okay.
No, you won't. That's suicide. And you'll be killing both of us.
I looked at him sternly. Let me guess. You're thinking you should do it yourself, seeing as you're already poisoned. Never mind, you can't even stand up without help, and barely with it. The rust-colored Pegasus managed to look cross.
Then get yourself out of here. At least one of us will survive this crazy stable.
I don't know what. So I'm playing like Streamlabs music. Hopefully this is like DMCA free. I like that there's like a bit of cacophony going on now because this is nonsense. This situation's like crazy. Now I get to play cross. I'm not leaving my friend behind. I reloaded little Macintosh. Calamity coughed. He looked like a me with genuine astonishment.
Friend? But I shot you.
I rolled my eyes at him and nodded. Yes, you did. I'm planning to needle you about that for the rest of your life. And I'm sure not gonna get my blood's worth if you die today.
Don't be a stubborn fool, little pup. Little Pip. There's no way in tarnation you could possibly.
Levitating the stealth buck up for Calamity to see, I smiled with a whole lot more confidence than I felt. I do have this. It was, without question, the most harrowing 2 hours of my life. Inching my way through darkness, surrounded by lethal predators. They couldn't see me, but in the darkness, it was only by my EFS and my targeting spell that I was able to keep from stepping on or brushing against one of them. That is ballsy as hell. That is scary. It was like a minefield. It was a minefield, and as I crossed, I realized just how calling my own stupidity a social minefield did flappant injustice to an actual minefield and anyone who had ever been caught in one. This was a minefield, and all the mines were alive and moving. One wrong move, and it wasn't just I who would die for it. But I did make it, and for once the wasteland was pouring out the favors. The Overstallion's door was as easy to pick as advertised. From the skeleton, I guessed the Overstallion locked himself in, and I feared he had consumed the anti-chimera potion. But within his locked safe, I found both it and the recipe, as well as an old recording.
My guess was that it was his last words. If it had been Stable 2 and I had been Overmare, watching everyone die because of some magical accident, I suspect I might have done the same. I took all 3 items. I figured I should, considering what I was going to do next. Even after drinking the remedy, Calamity was going to take some time to recover. There was no way to know how long. Lifting both the Pegasus and Little Macintosh, I followed my path back, all too aware that the damn Chimera were using the ventilation, and that even cleared areas were not to be trusted. I made it all the way back to the storage room near the main door. Sitting down with today's locksmith, I went through, finding all the tips I could in a short amount of time. The highlighting really helped. Outside, the thunder shook the mountain reassuringly. I looked up and thanked Celestia for the storm. The tips from the book proved useful. With a bit of effort and only 1 bobby pin, I was able to get the box marked dynamite. Inside, there was indeed dynamite. I removed each stick gingerly, then placed and curled up Calamity into the box, closing it. Should a Chimera come for him while I was busy, I didn't want it to be able to get at him. For the next few hours, I ran back through the entirety of Stable 24, everything but the atrium. I opened each door that could be opened, and then blocked it with a trash can or a tipped over filing cabinet or anything else that would keep the door from closing. As for the atrium, after looting the clinic for medical supplies, I left a stick of burning dynamite on the windowsill of the clinic and ran. The rest of the dynamite was to blow the cave opening enough to bring the river pouring in. By the time I was ready to set that off, Calamity had gotten up and wondered why he was packaged as high explosive. His eyes got wider and wider as I explained what I was doing. Damn! That was all. We'd been down in Stable 24 for most of the night. It was dawn by the time we returned to New Appaloosa. At least in theory. The storm had stopped pounding the crap out of the wasteland and was now content just to rain on us. Candy was kind enough to let me crash on an unused bed in her clinic. More than fair payment for giving her the anti-chimera cure. 1 copy of it, that is. It was still raining after I woke up. Later in the afternoon, and it was late evening before Calamity had woken up and trotted out to join me. By then, I had already been making some progress under Crane's tutelage. I was panting, sweating heavily, as we stopped for a Sparkle Cola break. I say we're even, I told Calamity as Crane floated an ice-cold Sparkle Cola over to each of us. I don't understand. If we just stayed put at the door, you would never have been bitten. If we stayed at the door, you never would have got the antidote. But if we stayed put, you would never have needed it. But some pony else might. Crane said that they've been having trouble with the critters, so obviously some of them had been getting out. Crap, I forgot all about that. Still, with luck, and with their nest destroyed. It wasn't your stable, you know. Calamity's voice had taken a solemn quality. I looked at my new friend. What? I know you grew up in a stable, but it wasn't that stable. Of course I knew. Of course it wasn't. I knew that. But I still wasn't sure what Calamity was getting at. It's just you seem to be taking You seem to be taking what we found down there, I don't know, personally. He looked at me earnestly. I just wanted to remind you is all. He was right. Of course, I don't know what I was looking for, or I had expected to find, but I'd let Stable-24 become a personal affront. Stable-24 had never been my home. I had no relation to it at all. The only threads connecting the different stables were 200 years old, dead and buried in a history mostly forgotten. Stable-Tec hadn't existed in a long time. I had no allegiance to it, and the long dead couldn't bear any responsibility to me. Oh, I pulled out the recording from the Overstallion's office. Should we hear what's on it? And that's the end of a quest. She leveled up. Gunslinger. With a light firearm, chance to hit in stats increased by 25%. That's pretty decent. She got mighty telekinesis, level 1. You triple the mass that you could levitate with your unicorn magic. That's also very good. She can now probably pick up a heavy weapon. Well, that was fun. That's a pretty good quest. That's like one of those things that's like this shows like, yeah, I mean, this is mostly like a Fallout thing. That's why like part of Fallout is like really good, because every time you go into a vault in Fallout, you get to read what happened to it. It's usually either because Vault-Tec are scumbags and they turn the vault into a big social experiment, or sometimes it's just someone in a vault just super fucked up. But yeah, I really love the way that the story of this stable turned out. It was really fun. Alright, so that was a very long chapter. The next couple of chapters are fairly short, but my throat's already dying, so I'm gonna call it here for today. We'll pick this up probably next week or so, and we'll read a few more chapters. Alright, so yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying this. Hope those are like that are sticking around here are kind of like this. Hopefully there's someone out there that actually likes me doing this reading, or likes the fact that I'm like putting them to sleep in a good way. But yeah, we'll come back to this. I do want to continue this. Alright, so next time we will come back to some FF16. We gotta go to the island of the church peoples, and probably help with Jill's past, maybe. So we gotta do FF16, and we also gotta do FF9. We gotta finish that section with saving Garnet once again. Alright, so yeah, until then, I'll see you guys for more next time. Y'all have a great night. Take care. Love you guys. See ya.